Well, today's sit down with the superintendent is with Chief Financial Officer of the Oxford School District, Narita Edwards. Welcome, Narita. We have gotten a few questions when we reached out to our community about pay raises. How we establish pay raises, what are the factors that determine how much the raise, and then how we communicate that back out to our stakeholders. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that this morning, and I would love for you to interject as the Chief Financial Officer and make sure that I do not leave anything out, because when you're talking about people's money, it's really, really important that we get it right. So the first question that I want to address is, how do pay raises work in the district? Where do they manifest themselves? How does it even start, right? Go ahead, Narita, I'll let you.
We actually start with our budget probably in January for the next fiscal year. So what we do, we get together the cabinet members, yourself, and me, and we look at our budget analysis. So we start there at the beginning of the year. We err on the side of caution because we never know what we'll be getting back as far as ad valorem. So this year we knew it was an assessment year. So we figured it'd be big, but we still wanted to be very cautious through the first few months of our budgeting process. As it got closer to the end, we started feeling a little more comfortable about it. So then we were like, I think we're going to be able to do the raises. And I know that was a passion of yours to be able to give something back to our employees, because I know your slogan is love your people.
Yes.
So we wanted to do that. So we sat down with our Chief of Staff, Dr. McConnell also, and we went over our raise analysis spreadsheet. It's a huge spreadsheet that was created by Ms. Allison Wiley. It's a beauty if you're a spreadsheet lover. And we plugged the numbers. We wanted to first make sure that we took care of our teacher assistants. We know that we gave them a 12.5% raise last year, and we wanted to be able to match that this year. So with the assessment coming in, beautiful numbers, we said, let's go for it. So that's how the initial raise, pay raise conversation got started.
Yeah, and look, it is always, Ms. Edwards and I, we laugh a good bit when we're going through this budgeting process, because I don't sleep a whole lot from January until we get those final numbers, because we do want to make sure that we're taking care of our people, right? Because our people are our number one resource, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of them. Just for those that are watching or listening, to give you a little bit of insight around what Ms. Edwards is talking about with the budget process, we get a certain portion of our funding from the state. That typically is about 30% of our funding. We get about 5% of our funding from federal allocations, but the majority of our funding, 60 to 65%, comes from our local tax base, right? So that's actually the number that we get last. So it's really, really important that we have concrete numbers when it comes to making those major decisions, right? When it comes to giving raises. And I appreciate that you brought up the fact that we want to take care of our classified staff first, because we all know that they don't make enough money, right? And it's important that we make sure that we're taking care of them so that they can live at least somewhat comfortably, in our community. And then it's our teachers, right? Our teachers were our next portion of our staff that we wanted to make sure that we were taking care of. So, you mentioned several factors there that we consider when we talk about how we determine the amount of raise, right? Budget health. We have to make sure that we can maintain our current operational budget. One thing that people don't realize is when we're committing, like this year, $1.1 million in raises, that is a recurring cost.
It has to be sustained, yeah.
Right, talk a little bit about that.
So when we do the raises, I think people think it's a one-time expense, but it's really not. This is something that we have to carry throughout. So we have to look long-term. It's not just for that year. Sometimes we even go 5 years down the road. How will this impact us in 5 years, this raise? So sometimes the raises may seem small, but they're actually not. This is what we're projecting to be able to sustain those raises. So that's pretty much what we do.
And the reason that's so important, because the worst case scenario for us would be to give a raise this year and then have to take the raise back the next year because we did not do a good job of thinking fiscally responsibly down many years down the road to make sure that we could cover those raises, right? And another thing that people may not understand is that raise is not static. The way that educators are paid, that raise, their local supplement increases every year, right? So that raise isn't static. It's not like it's a one-time raise of $500. That raise is going to increase the following year. So we have to be prepared and making sure that we're making fiscally responsible decisions when we're considering those raises. But I will say this as the superintendent, because you and I talk about this a lot. As soon as we know that we have our operational items or budget items considered for the next year, the first thing that we always consider after that is trying to give our staff a raise.
We looked at other factors, also even the housing prices.
Yes.
We looked at those. Some of the stories we had heard were kind of heartbreaking, that some of our staff possibly couldn't afford housing. So we wanted to be a part of making that process a little easier. So we also put that into consideration also. We know that every raise consideration isn't just about the numbers, it's about the employees and the people in our system that make a difference. So we wanted to be able to kind of ease that and help out a little bit in that process.
You know, this wasn't part of the question for the sit down with the soup for today, but it really leads into some things that we're considering or exploring right now moving forward with our staff. Because we know, I just sent out a survey within the last month to our staff members about childcare costs as well as housing costs. So some of the things that we're exploring are how can we create a partnership with other organizations to relieve our staff members of expensive childcare costs, but also look for partnerships and explore ways that we could even offer housing options. So whether that's through rental properties or apartments or whatever it may be. So stay tuned on that. There'll be more to come in the next several weeks or months as we explore those options as well. Ms. Edwards, I want to thank you for taking the time to visit with me today about this. This is really, really important, and I appreciate your commitment to making sure and giving me the information I need to make sound decisions about making sure that we're providing the resources that our families need and our staff members need financially to be the best that they can be in our community. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you all.